Hello, you beautiful people. Aaron here, back with another video. One of the major issues with some Dendro teams is the lack of good defensive Dendro options. The fact that Cyno can get locked off from good buffing supports like Kazuha, and Nilo teams cannot utilize Hydro units other than Kokomi can make those characters feel a lot less fun to play and a lot more rigid in team structure. That's what adding in a Dendro defensive support unit would help with, as they would be able to open up versatility in many Dendro teams. So with Hoyoverse recently announcing a new character to fill in this position, let's take a look at how to play and build Yao Yao, the newest addition to the support roster. But before we get into it, I have to say that if you do like my content, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, as it helps me more than you can imagine. Also note that there are chapters in the description for you all to easily peruse at your leisure. Alright, time to get into it. Let's start with what Yao Yao can do. Yao Yao is a Dendro healing summoner character. Her elemental skill summons a rabbit that tosses out radishes toward allies under 70% of their max HP, which will then explode on contact. Otherwise, the rabbit will toss its radishes toward enemies for them to explode on contact. If a radish misses a target, that radish will stay on the ground for 5 seconds. The radish will then explode when an ally or enemy touches it. When a radish explodes, it deals AoE elemental skill Dendro damage and heals any ally in the AoE. Her elemental burst has her enter a special state where she gains 15% movement speed, she gets a 50% Dendro resistance buff, and she throws out a 1 bunny automatically per second for up to 3 rabbits total. These rabbits deal more damage, which also now counts as elemental burst damage, and they heal more too. However, the stance duration is only 5 seconds, after which point all of these buffs and every rabbit disappears. This stance also ends when she is swapped off field, meaning that this is specifically a driving ability. Her Ascension passives increase her healing even further, as her first allows her to throw radishes herself while in her elemental burst state. Her fourth Ascension passive applies a heal over time to allies hit by her radishes, which will help heal her team even when off field. And finally, the ICD of her radishes tend to follow a timer of once every 2.5 seconds, with no hit number. How do you want to use her though? Well, the easiest way to use her is simply as an off-field support, similar to Kokomi. Just toss out her skill when you need it in rotations and use her burst when you want to use her as a driver. But just keep in mind that her skill only has a 10-second duration, so using it at the start of rotations is generally worse than using it right before throwing your main DPS on field, unless you plan to use Yao Yao to drive. Also keep in mind that her burst is pretty useless outside of Nilo teams, as it is only useful for herself. So what are her talent priorities? Well, it's quite simple. You're going to want to level up her skill first, since it's the part of her kit that you're going to get the most out of. Her burst is next if you want to level it at all, and you can skip her normal attacks. Now, what weapons do you want to use with her? Well, that depends on a few things, but generally the Black Tassel is going to be her most versatile option, due to the HP that it grants, which is always useful and always one of her best options. Going a bit more in depth, we're going to have to split this into 2 sections, one being inside Nilo teams and one being outside Nilo teams. Inside Nilo teams, her most effective option is going to be the Dragon's Bane, due to the insanely high elemental mastery it grants, which would also then make her bountiful core damage incredibly high as well. And there's Katane Cross Spear, which is great for its well-rounded status with EM and energy generation. Outside of Nilo teams, her weapon priority changes, as her elemental mastery and elemental burst do not matter as much here. So instead we want more supportive options, those of which being Moonpiercer for the decent attack percent buff, though it might not offer anything else and it's hard to proc on Yao Yao, and Favonius Lance for the purpose of helping to battery her team. What about artifacts? Well, she has a good amount of options. You're going to see most success with Tenacity of the Millowolf, Deepwood Memories, and the Instructor set. Where do each of these sets excel? Well, Tenacity would be used when you want to use her to buff Electro characters in the Quicken team, but that's about it. Otherwise, you're looking at the other two. The Instructor set is really strong and will buff your team's elemental mastery by 120. This is especially good when another Dendro character you have is already wielding a Deepwood set. In fact, when used, it often outscales every other set combination in terms of damage and buffing potential in almost all situations. The only issues with this set is that Yao Yao would have to take a hit in the personal numbers department. She has to be on field for the artifact set to actually work, and this set becomes less useful than Deepwood and Hyperbloom situations, when the character proccing Hyperblooms has over 300 elemental mastery. If these issues don't matter to you, then this set is 100% her best, especially in Nilo teams where it counts the most. Lastly, there's Deepwood. This is the safest option for her and requires little thought when using. While Instructors may be better, it is only by a slight amount, yet requires much more thought to use. On the other hand, Deepwood has the most bang for its buck, while also not having any detriments. So if you're looking for an easy and safe all-rounder, this set is her best. Now what about main stats? For this, you're looking for HP on the flower and attack on the feather as per usual. Rest is a tad bit more complicated and depends on what you want. In Nilo teams, a solid lineup will be energy recharge on the sands, or HP if you don't care about using her burst, an HP or EM on the goblet, and healing bonus on the circlet. The most important thing to keep in in mind here are her thresholds when deciding the main stats you want. For HP, you're looking toward about 40k and somewhere around 200% energy recharge or 180% with Katain if you plan on using her burst. However, her energy recharge requirements change to around 170% energy recharge or 130% energy recharge with Katain if you have her C2. After that, the rest can go into Elemental Mastery. Outside of Nilo teams, this changes a bit as Elemental Mastery and her burst are practically useless. So the main stat lineup would be HP, attack, HP percent, and then healing bonus. Then for substats, you were continuing to just look for more HP, and then maybe some energy recharge in case you ever want to use her burst. Now let's get into her team comps. Nilo teams are where she's going to shine the brightest. For Nilo teams, you're looking to use these two ladies with Nahida, who can be substituted for any other Dendro character other than Tignari, along with Yolan or Candice. Candice is actually a good choice here because she is able to turn Yao Yao into a one-woman reactor. She can sometimes work better than Yolan depending on what you're looking for. Other team comps to use her in are Hyperbloom and Quicken team comps. The characters to use her with would include Yai Miko, Kulxing, or Sino as an Electro main DPS. These characters, along with a Fischl and Anemo character or Zhongli, would be perfect for Aggravate. With Hyperbloom, you could easily swap out the Fischl and Anemo character or Zhongli with the simple Hydro core of Yulan and Jingshou. These compositions are very straightforward, but they do rely on Yao Yao using her skill right before her main DPS walks on the field, since her skill only has a 10-second duration. You can also run her to support other Dendro units in spread team comps, as her buffs are very useful, though Nahida will just do better in those situations. Finally, we have Virgin teams, which would include Yao Yao with Jingshou, Thoma, and either Yulan or Nahida. This variation requires an on-field Dendro driver to function in Yao Yao. If you're not looking for a Dendro driver for the team, then a comp including Barbara, Thoma, and either Kole or Dendro Traveler will do just fine. Just make sure that your rotation starts with Barbara's skill, then Dendro Traveler's skill, and burst, so the burst does not explode from the pyro. Yao Yao has some strength in being a Dendro support character as well as a support driver. However, she does have issues as she is heavily susceptible to power creep for whenever another Dendro healer comes out, as all she offers is some decent healing and a Dendro element. So while she can be a good pickup in the present, her worth drops off when considering the future of the game. However, she will always have a pretty strong spot in free-to-play Dendro teams, as she is definitely the best staple in those team comps. What would you guys think of Yao Yao? Do you plan to pull her? How do you plan to build her? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. But with that, I shall wish you all a farewell. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye bye.